Hello, friends. Welcome to Science Talk. I'm your host, Jim Massa. I want to discuss with you an article that was published about 11 months ago, and it was published in Science of the Total Environment in that journal. And what's this article? What do they discuss here? Climate change bats linked to the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, so let's discuss briefly what the findings were. Basically, thanks to greenhouse gas emissions occurring globally, of course, over the last century, have made southern China a hotspot for bat-borne coronaviruses by driving the growth of forest habitat that bats favor. That's the finding of this study that was published in the Science of the Total Environment. And this is led by a team of researchers, Camilo Mora from the University of Hawaii at Manoa. And apparently this research group out of the University of Hawaii has done a number of studies examining this issue. But this recent study provides the really first concrete evidence that climate change could have played a direct role in the emergence of SARS-CoV-2, which is the virus causing all this headache. The study revealed large-scale changes in the type of vegetation in the southern Chinese Yunnan province, as well as adjacent regions in Myanmar and Laos. And these changes have occurred over the last century. So, fueled by climatic changes, including temperature increases, sunlight changes, atmospheric CO2, which impact the growth of plants and trees, these habitats have changed from, this is important, tropical shrubland to tropical savanna and deciduous trees. This created a suitable environment for many bat species that predominantly live in forests. The study found that the number of coronaviruses in an area is closely linked to the number of different bat species present. An additional 40 bat species have moved into the southern Chinese Yunnan province in the last century, harboring around 100 more types of bat-borne coronavirus. This quote-unquote global hotspot is the region where genetic data suggests SARS-CoV-2 may have arisen. This study further suggests that as climate change altered habitats, species left some areas and moved into others, taking the viruses with them. This not only altered the regions where the viruses are present, but most likely allowed for new interactions between animals and viruses, causing more harmful viruses to be transmitted or evolve. So, Dr. Morris states, the fact that climate change can accelerate the transmission of wildlife pathogens to humans should be an urgent wake-up call to reduce global emissions. Understanding how the global distribution of bat species has shifted as a result of climate change may be an important step in reconstructing the origin of the COVID-19 outbreak, said lead author Robert Bayer, a researcher at the University of Cambridge's Department of Zoology. He's also a research fellow at the Potsdam Institute for Climate Impact Research, located in Germany. The researchers echo calls from previous studies that urged policymakers to acknowledge the role of climate change in outbreaks of viral diseases and to address climate change as part of COVID-19 economic recovery programs. So, now, of course, basically using the type of verbiage um, that scientists tend to use. You know, you see things. Oh, important step in reconstructing the origin of the COVID-19 outbreak. But what they're basically finding is that, and they're showing in the study, is that they have very high confidence that this is the region where the COVID originated from, and therefore spread from there, and it's caused this 2 year and still running pandemic. So basically, there's several things I want to point out here. Okay, obviously the issue of climate change can unleash pandemics. That's a very important point that they're making here, and now I want to extrapolate that further. And I'm talking about, of course, the permafrost. You have heard me discuss before that we do not know what pathogens are going to be unleashed as the permafrost thaws. And it is thawing and is waiting to be unleashed. And these pathogens could be viral, they could be bacterial, they could be macroscopic, doesn't always have to be microscopic. A couple of Russian scientists found some frozen worms in the permafrost, 35, 40,000 years of age. Took it back to the lab, thawed it out, let the ice melt, the ground thaw out, etc. And guess what happened? The worms came back to life. They started wiggling around and moving around. So as we have Arctic amplification, as we have accelerated thawing of the permafrost, it is a pretty sure bet that there's going to be pathogens unleashed that which humans have not encountered. And if they did, it was a very, very long time ago. They would probably have no appropriate immune defenses, so that we could be looking at other major pandemics that could sweep through human populations. It's a very sobering thought, but one that must be considered. The other point I want to make, and it's not necessarily a political, but it goes to show you that whenever you have pundits and other folks who really know diddly squat about science spreading basically bullshit, they should really just shut the fuck up. And what I'm talking about is those that say, "Oh, it was the virus originated as a lab leak." First of all, there really is no evidence for that. And second of all, we now have. I'm sharing with you this study here. There have been other studies that I've seen that basically all point to a natural origin for the virus. Was the virus in the lab? Did they bring bats in the lab? Yeah, because they wanted to study the viruses to find out its genomic structure. It's best to do that kind of research in a lab. But that does not necessarily mean that that the virus escaped from the lab. It was already out there in the wild. I just shared with you that the bats expanded their range. When you do so, you're going to increase the interactions among people, which means increase the likelihood of people contracting the virus from the animal vectors. It's basic virology 101. So be that as it may, but I was getting sick of hearing all these people insisting, "Oh, it's it's a lab leak. This is what's causing it. A bunch of people let this stuff out from the lab, and it's biological germ warfare." As Carl Sagan said, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. If you're going to make such claims, back it up. And then none of these have ever done so. Whereas here, we have studies indicating very strongly a natural origin for the COVID-19 pandemic we're all dealing with. So I wanted to bring this news to you briefly, and hopefully this pandemic can be put in the rearview mirror. But of course, that doesn't mean we're done with pandemics, because as I stated, watch out what happens up in the Arctic as the permafrost thaws. That is where my concern is. So, until next time, thank you for your time. Hello, folks. This is Jim here with Science Talk, asking you to please subscribe to my channel and to inform others of my channel and of the work that I do. Please share to social media platforms that you use. Also, as a reminder, don't forget to click the bell so that you know when I load up more videos. Finally, I ask that you support the work that I do by becoming a patron at patreon.com. Details in the description box below. Thank you for your support.